being in bars are great. Like it's a new experience every day. You're talking to so many different people. It was fun. Like it was a fun atmosphere. I worked in downtown Cleveland, stuff like that, but I'm not like making a difference in anything. You know, it's not that kind of job where I'm able to actually make a difference in other people's lives. And that did eat at me, even when I did work there, was, you know, I want to do something more and bigger with my life on, you know, this limited time that we have here. I want to do something that matters. And I just, like I said, I had to take that chance.
So have you felt like with your time at AFB that you've been doing something that matters?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, I get to talk to volunteers every day, and I get to show them how to fight back against policies that they feel are restrictive to their lives, but also to fight for policies that will be able to bring them more prosperity and freedom, and that is so rewarding.
Americans are capable of achieving extraordinary things when they have the freedom and opportunity to do so. This is American Potential.
Welcome to the American Potential Podcast. I'm your host, David Fromm. So we're here at Americans for Prosperity's all-staff meeting, which is just such a great opportunity to bring together people from across this organization, hundreds of staff members who come together to be inspired by one another, to just enjoy one another's company, but also to strategize and talk about our priorities for next year. And for this year and for the future, to try to make America freer and, you know, more embracing of liberty and to make people's lives better. And one of the great opportunities that we have for the podcast here is to talk to different staff members who, you know, have dedicated their lives to getting involved and helping other people get involved and to make a difference in their community, in their state, and in their nation. And I think it's such a great opportunity because we get to talk to, you know, these people, find their great stories, and it's really ties into what we've been talking about all year long, which is the One Small Step campaign, which is highlighting the story of America, where the founding fathers and other great people through history took one step, you know, that often a courageous step, but maybe sometimes a small step to get involved, and that cascaded and led to change, whether it be establishing America and the birth of America, or you know, a man landing on the moon, or slaves being freed, and just the civil rights movement, so many different things that we've seen throughout history. So I'm excited to welcome a staff member whose story I've always loved and who has been doing great work organizing communities in Ohio. Such a pivotal state. I mean, so many of you pay attention to politics, know that year in and year out, Ohio's important. So I want to welcome Angela Marrarino, who is a Grassroots engagement director in Ohio. I'm sorry, no longer. That was what you were originally hired to, a deputy director of Grassroots operations in Ohio. And I want to hear a little bit about your story and how and your early story, but then and how you got interested in politics and how you got into joined AFP. So tell us about like growing up and your family.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on. So I've been interested in politics since I was about 5 years old, actually. I was very, very young. I come from a Reagan Republican, Roman Catholic, very Italian household. My family came here from Calabria. So the most Italian you could think of is how I was raised. So very traditional, very strict. But my dad was always really interested in politics. And I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but I was in second grade when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. So that, I mean, it has an impact on you, you know, especially at such a young age. And my parents were very honest with me about what was going on. And I had questions and they talked to me. And I started hearing at school and in different songs even, you know, no more blood for oil and, you know, talk about oil and stuff. And I started asking my dad, well, you never talk about oil. So like, why am I hearing all of this other stuff? And my dad explained everything to me. He did not tell me what to think, but he really taught me how to think and would say, hey, this is what other people are saying. This is what I believe. And this is why. What do you think? So it kind of like started me from a very young age of questioning things and kind of figuring out my own path and stuff like that. And that's how I was raised. I mean, I was debating my Catholic school teachers in third, fourth grade about, you know, the Iraq War and different stuff like that. So
did they like that and appreciate it?
Oh, no. My dad was a frequent attendee at the school talking to my principal.
What did your dad think about you debating your teachers?
He said, keep going. As long as I was respectful.
Exactly.
That was the biggest thing. As long as I was respectful and I did not disrespect anybody in anything I was saying, he gave me the freedom to say whatever I wanted at the time, especially if I disagreed, even if it was an adult, as long as I was respectful. So that's what kind of perked my interest, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I think another big like pivotal point in that was my senior year of high school. I took an honors government class, and we took a political affinity test. Mine popped up as libertarian, and I was like, what is this? I've always been a Republican my whole life. Like, what is this? And so I Googled it, and that was like the days of like the Tea Party really forming, and Rand Paul filibustering for 13 hours and stuff like that. So I saw Rand Paul speak and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. He lit a fire underneath me that I don't think anybody else could have done. And then, I tweeted him a couple years later. It's like, you're doing a great job. And his chief of staff direct messaged me and said, come on down to Kentucky. We want you to work on some fundraisers for us. And that was kind of my like.
And did you do that?
I did. Absolutely, I did.
That's pretty amazing. That like
it's really crazy.
I mean, so in one weird way, I mean, your one small step of getting sucked in was or getting activated was you said you responded to a tweet. You sent a tweet and then all of a sudden the presidential campaign's reaching out to you asking you to get involved. Yeah,
it was really wild. It was one of those things where it's like, looking back, I could see how God put all of the pieces together for sure on everything. But of course, I took that opportunity. I'm like, I will absolutely. I mean, I would be crazy to not do that. And from there, I was just able to just meet so many people and just kind of get involved in different organizations. That's how I was able to work on U.S. Senate campaign and different stuff like that. So that's what like really got my foot in the door, I guess, necessarily. But it was just a tweet, which is wild.
That's great. When you went to Kentucky, like, was it really cool for you at the time? It was
the coolest thing. We went to, the first one I went to was the ambassador of Latvia's house. And there was like Mitch McConnell was there, Carly Fiorina was there, Thomas Massey was there. Like, I mean, there were so many people there. And my job was, I was collecting checks. I was sitting at a table in the front and I was collecting the checks of everybody that was walking in. And then as soon as they were done, I was able to go mingle in the fundraiser and like see everybody speak and stuff. And the whole time I'm like, how is this real?
That's awesome.
Like, I was in Ohio yesterday. Like, what do you mean? I'm just here doing this. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
So you're kind of involved, kind of in and out of politics. And, but I know also you were working in the restaurant industry, right? And, I know that you went to Maine, right? And that was kind of pivotal.
Very pivotal.
So tell me about, working on the state Senate race there, like how that made a difference in your life.
So thankfully, my old boss was really supportive of my political aspirations. So he always would give me a leave of absence without filling my role, which was fantastic.
That is great.
To this day, I still thank him for that because who knows what would have happened if he wouldn't have, But I was at a YALCon, I think, in Washington, D.C., I think in 2018. And I met Eric Brakey, who's now the leader of the Free State Project in New Hampshire.
Yep.
But he was running for U.S. Senate at that time against Angus King, who's he was an independent, quote unquote.
In Maine.
Yes. And I met him and we got some drinks. He had his DC consultant, Jesse Benton, with him, and who's actually Rand's brother-in-law, which is a really crazy like twist, and they grilled me for like 3 hours. I had no idea that this was like an interview type thing, but they grilled me for like 3 hours. And then they said, hey, we want to offer you a position to come to Maine. I was there for like 6 or 7 months. I lived with Eric's parents and said, hey, we want you to work on his campaign. And essentially I was his like right-hand woman. I went everywhere with Eric. I learned all of, how to work a war room while you're in a debate, for example, how to write press releases, just all of these different tactics that you use in a campaign. I was very green. I've never done any of this before. And they took a chance on me and just taught me a bunch of stuff. And unfortunately we lost. But
it happens to the best of us.
But it all worked out in the end. But yeah, So
what, from that experience, how did that change you?
Well, it was really disheartening, first off, because I saw his own party go against him for a lot of different reasons. And it was really crazy to see how he had so much support going on, but because of past votes that he took in the state Senate, which was he voted for constitutional carry and legalization of marijuana in the same term. That made Republicans like very, very upset that he voted for the legalization of marijuana. So they started pulling some support from him. And it was just so disheartening. 'Cause I'm like, well, he is a Republican and he's been a very good, obviously in my view, he's been a very good Republican here. He's introduced some great legislation. And so that was really hard for me to kind of, a hard pill to swallow, that that is a reality that can happen in politics when you're working on it. But I think it just put more fire under me too. Like, I'm like, this is so cool. Just being able to learn all of this, being able to see firsthand how this stuff is actually done behind the scenes. And then Eric was so great at it. So being able to see how he pivots in speeches and debates and just kind of learning from that, I think lit more of a fire underneath me, because I'm like, wow, a career in this is possible, where I didn't really necessarily think it was. But this is a possibility that I could actually do. And praise the Lord that he gave me an opportunity to, kind of start there. But yeah, I mean, I think it just made me realize this is a real thing that can happen. It's not just a dream that I have,
Or a hobby.
Or a hobby, yeah.
So you then return, after the campaign loses, you return to the Cleveland area.
Yes.
And you're working in the restaurant industry, if I remember. And then eventually, there was the next step that you applied for a job with Americans for Prosperity?
No, actually. So I was just managing bars, doing my thing. And this woman that I met on a ballot initiative in Michigan, I mean, now probably like 15 years ago or something like that, knew Michael Segrest. Who works for us, one
Ohio.
of the best people ever. And they were looking for somebody in the Cleveland area. And I think he might have asked, like, hey, do you know anybody? And she said, oh, Angela's up there. So I met with Michael Segrest in downtown Willoughby, where close to where I live. And he talked to me. And then he said, hey, let's do the thing. And that's how I got the opportunity to apply. So I didn't even necessarily seek you guys out.
That's great.
Pretty crazy.
Well, I know. I remember I was on your interview panel, and I remember interviewing you and just enjoying our conversation immensely, because I felt like there was such an authentic desire to be involved for the right reasons. And I also could tell, because you were, I think you had worked till like 3 a.m. the morning before, because it was, you're managing a bar and like you have to work.
Yeah.
And I was pretty impressed by that kind of responsibility and work ethic that you bring to it. So I think there's a lot of folks who care about what's happening in this country and have an interest in politics and have dabbled in making a difference and trying to make a difference. But it's hard to take that step into like that being your career, because it's uncertain. And, especially if you don't know the landscape and how it goes. So take me through a little bit, like your decision-making process to want to pursue a job with Americans for Prosperity. And then, so your career changing from, the hospitality industry to politics. And then like, as you spend time in it, like what were your thoughts about it?
Yeah. So I talk to my dad a lot. My dad is my absolute best friend. And he was really who I bounced everything off of. So I just kind of said, hey, this is an opportunity that was presented to me. What do I do? What's your opinion? Like, I kind of like threw all the cards out there. I was like, what do you think? And he told me, like, do you want to be safe your whole life? Because I can. I mean, I could work in bars, and like bars are always hiring, and it's kind of, never going to go out of business type of thing. So I could do that, and I can kind of stay safe, and I can move up in kind of more of a corporate world, and that's it, right? And just kind of like sit on the sidelines and watch policy happen and just kind of have opinions on it. Or you could just take that step of kind of a leap of faith and say, hey, I don't entirely know what this is going to hold, but you'll be part of the decision makers now, and you'll be able to actually help impact policy, impact politics, which is something you've talked about since you were, in second grade when you were, talking about foreign policy with me. That's something you've always wanted to do. You've always wanted to be one of the people that were able to either empower other people. Like I said, I was debating my teachers. Like, I wanted other people to be able to see like, hey, this is what's going on, or to make the decision yourself and help kind of impact it that way. And when he worded it that way, I think kind of that helped make my decision into it. 'Cause I'm like, you're right. Like, let's say it doesn't work out. Like, this is a safe, restaurants are a safe bet. I could always go back to that if it didn't work out. But I will regret it for the rest of my life if I do not take that leap of faith and say, you know what? I know nothing about this. I am very green into this. let's give it a shot, like, let's see what it's about. Let's give it a shot. And hey, if I don't even get the job, at least I tried. At least I tried, going for it. And then I did speak with my then manager at the time, who I'm still very good friends with. And he essentially told me, like, you would be really stupid to not do this. You've talked about it forever. Do it. Like, and he told me, like, if it doesn't work out, I'll hire you back. Like, it's not like you're gone forever if you really needed it, but I mean, go for it. So I think that was the thing, was I didn't want to regret anything in the future.
Yeah. I think one of the important things there is to really understand, to have an accurate assessment of what do you really want in life? Like, what's going to motivate you and feed your soul, And
Right.
I think your answer you got to was working in public policy, politics. But look, you're kind of hedging in that, hey, I can go back to this restaurant job. So there is, so I give advice to my kids. I have some grown kids, and like, they're starting out in the workforce and figuring things out. I'm like, look, you're young. You don't have a lot of expenses. If you don't have, if you're not married, have kids, have a mortgage, all that, like, you can take some risks. And I'd encourage you to take risks, but be smart about it. Like, if you have something to fall back on to, still pay your bills. So all I care about is, like, go chase your dreams and be able to pay your bills. If you can do both those at once, you're probably going to go in a pretty good direction, because it's going to hit at some point. But, and I think you were doing that. Your dad was probably kind of like, she's a responsible one. I bet you that she's going to take care of what she wants. But any parent wants to see their kid chase their dreams.
Yeah.
Because, at least in this generation, I remember I was chasing my dreams, worked on a campaign in the mid-90s. I thought and then I got kind of hooked up with the governor's office. I was like, oh, I'm off to such a great start. I'm right out of college. I'm like, this is going to be great. We lost our first campaign. I went back to waiting tables. And I remember my dad, I'd done it professionally for like 4 months. And it was the greatest experience I ever had. I thought, like, oh my gosh, I'm still on my path. And my dad's like, calls me up, and he's a really good man. And he's like, so Dave, do you think probably about time to get, a job like a bank or something? I was like, no.
Actually, no.
No, we lost. I'm in politics, but like, I'm paying my bills by waiting tables. And then within 6 months, I was working on the governor's for folks from the governor's team, and then was hired in the governor's office. And now I'm working, flying the state plane within a year, kind of doing stuff like doing bill reviews and doing all these things I never thought I'd have a chance to do. Working in downtown Chicago in the governor's office. And I was like, man, am I so glad that I didn't make that safe choice. Yes. Although I think people, I kind of feel like there's some degree of, like, your soul can rot if you don't
100%.
try to do what you want. I'm not saying be ridiculous, but, really taking a real assessment. And this is where people like your dad and your boss, who at the time, can speak into your life and help you understand, like, what you are really passionate about, because they can see it in you if they really care about you.
Yeah. And I mean, I always looked at it too of, like, being in bars are great. Like, it's a new experience every day. You're talking to so many different people. It was fun. Like, it was a fun atmosphere. I worked in downtown Cleveland, stuff like that, but I'm not, like, making a difference in anything. It's not that kind of job where I'm able to actually make a difference in other people's lives. Yeah. And that did eat at me, even when I did work there, was, I want to do something more and bigger with my life on this limited time that we have here. I want to do something that matters. And I just, like I said, I had to take that chance.
So have you felt like, with your time at AFP, that you've been doing something that matters?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, I get to talk to volunteers, like, every day, and I get to show them how to fight back against policies that they feel are restrictive to their lives, but also to fight for policies that will be able to bring them more prosperity and freedom. And that is so rewarding. I mean, I have a volunteer in a county that I work in close to my house, and his name is George. Him and his wife are, in their 80s, and they're unbelievably happy that they feel that they have a political home now with Americans for Prosperity. They're retired. They felt like they really wanted to get involved. They have all of these different passions, and it's so cool to be able to help them, teach them how to door knock, even making calls to, like, the state senator, a state senator's office, on behalf of a bill that they're really in support of, and just kind of teaching them the importance of getting involved, but then also teaching folks, this is how you do it. We're not going to leave you alone while you do it. We're going to be there to support you. We're going to, walk with you every step of the way. And I think that's one of the most rewarding parts, because I think people get so intimidated, and I get it. I mean, if you don't know, you're looking at a state rep and you're like, oh my gosh, they're a state rep. But it's like, no, they're a person, and you don't need to be intimidated by them in any way, shape, or form. But we're an organization that will stand behind you as well. We're not throwing you to the wolves here. Like, we're going to teach you, we're going to walk through you, and then we're going to support you as you do it. So I think that's a really cool thing that we do here that differs from like other organizations. And I think that's what I find so rewarding, is that we get to teach people how to do that, where they thought that wasn't possible, or they felt intimidated, or they felt like they weren't smart enough or knew enough. You do. If you're passionate about it, I can't teach you to be passionate. Like, I can teach you how to do everything else, but I can't teach you to care. So once we find the people that are passionate and care.
So as an Italian girl, do you have no sympathy for someone who's not passionate? Did you have no space for that? Like, how can you not be passionate?
It's hard sometimes when I hear it,
As 100% Norwegian, I very much understand not being passionate. So,
well, because it's hard. I'm like, how do you not, But I think the thing that bothers me the most is people that, I think especially now in the age of social media and everything, everybody has an opinion, right? But nobody wants to I shouldn't say nobody. I have a lot of people that want to take action, but a lot of people don't want to take action on that stuff.
Yeah.
So they'll just sit in a room and they'll, every 2 weeks or something at these groups, and they'll complain about things and they'll talk about, a million different things. But then you say, hey, I actually have a solution to help get some legislation going that will actually address your concerns. And they're like, well, I don't want to do that. It's like, but so, you just said that you don't want this to happen. I'm giving you an outlet here.
I really think one of the important roles that Americans for Prosperity plays, especially in states, is to help take that person's voice and aggregate it with others and give them courage. Because I think courage is the thing that sometimes lacks.
Yeah.
It's scary to some people. I remember my parents, we always talked politics at the dinner table and stuff like that. They were pretty, relatively, kind of Reagan Republican types.
Yeah.
Never had a yard sign, nothing. So I worked in campaigns. Yard signs are like the minimum ante to like getting involved in a campaign,
Yes.
And I remember when I went off to college and they got a campaign because they really believed in this one gubernatorial candidate, and they got a sign for the driveway for outside. And they that was their activism, but for them, that was a big step forward. And to me, as a campaign guy, I was like, okay,
this is bottom level right here.
This is the minimum anyone could ever do. But that was a big thing. And I think like them to them giving that public display was a sign of courage. It was a step of courage, because they were saying and declaring what they thought. Now, social media wasn't a thing then, as you might be hard to believe that social media might have been a thing back when I was there. But and so people are a little more accustomed, I think, to kind of spouting off and saying their thing. But I think kind of helping folks kind of have collective courage, like, hey, we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with these people, and that's going to give give me a little more courage to stand up and make our voices heard. And then when we put all those voices together, it can drown out the special interests or other things. Like, it has real power and real force. And when people can see that being effective in terms of changing policy or politics, then they get addicted to it. They want to do it more. And like, hey, I can make a difference here. And this thing actually might work the way we want it to work.
Yes.
And I think like, whether it's Grassroots Engagement Director, who I know you supervise now in your Deputy Dogo role, it's the essential building block of our organization and how we're effective in hopefully shaping public policy.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So what would you do for somebody who just likes to post on social media, or, yells at their TV while they're, watching, or complains to their spouse on the couch, but hasn't kind of gotten up off the couch to take some sort of action? Like, what would you say to them to try to get them to engage?
Nothing's ever going to change unless people actually get out and do something about it, right? The government's not going to teach you how to fight against themselves. I mean, we all know that. And an organization like Americans for Prosperity will walk you through every single step of it. Whether it's something as simple as making a phone call to a state rep, to a state senator, to your governor, to, whatever, in support, or, maybe you want to repeal legislation or whatever the case may be. who knows, that call that you make might be the tipping point in that representative's head of, does my whole district think about this now? Is this something that my entire district is going to care about? And is this going to maybe risk my reelection? That could be the tipping point. Even going out in something simple like door knocking. I mean, door knocking impacts elections by 7%. I mean, that's a crazy number. So even just being able to go speak to your neighbors and say, hey, this is my take on it. You know, I just wanted to be able to, you know, tell you and, you know, hopefully encourage you to come out and hit the polls on May 5th or whatever the case may be. Oh, I'm sorry. Or whatever it may be. Nothing is going to happen with somebody just complaining at the TV or complaining at the dinner table or complaining in a group that maybe you meet together, you know, once a month. Nothing is actually happening from that. You're not going to actually change anything ever. And if you want to be like our founders, I mean, we're about to be celebrating our nation's 250th anniversary. If you want to be like our founders and you say, hey, I'm a constitutionalist and, you know, I love the founding fathers, you know, maybe take a page out of their book, literally, and do something about it. Whether it's as simple as going to your local city council meeting and being updated as to what's going on in your city. It's kind of just taking that, dare I say, one small step.
Please do.
It is really about taking that step, though, and just getting out of your comfort zone. Like, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? I mean, that's kind of life in general, is you're going to be thrown in uncomfortable situations, and it's how you come out of that. That kind of defines you as a person in a lot of ways. So even if you're uncomfortable, or maybe you feel like you don't know as much, I mean, if you find your Americans for Prosperity chapter in your state too, I mean, like I said, we walk you through it. We don't just educate you and then throw you to the wolves.
Right.
We're going to walk you through it, and you're going to have a sea of green behind you, supporting you in whatever endeavor that is, whether that is testifying, like whether that is, you know, running for school board, you know, whatever that case may be, you know, we will be there to kind of help motivate you and teach you and support you during that. So,
well, I would sign up to volunteer for you, right?
Thank you, David.
I'm glad that we got people like, but honestly, like, I am really glad when I come to a gathering like our all staff meeting and I see, I talk to people like you and tons of your colleagues. You know, there's so many wonderful stories and people who are doing what you're doing. You know, I feel really blessed to be part of an organization where you have folks who are committed, you know, in their soul and in their being to trying to advance freedom and liberty and make people's lives better.
Yeah.
And then, but trying to help other people along in that journey and to get those public policy wins. But it's fun. I get the chance to help tell the story. So it's a lot of fun for me, and it's a lot of fun to talk to you. So, well, best of luck. I appreciate you. And congratulations on your upcoming wedding. Hopefully when this airs, it might actually have happened. Wow. Intimidating.
I might not be a Mannarino anymore when this airs.
We can always edit. No problem.
It's all good.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Well, folks, if you like this episode, please be sure to follow us and subscribe to our channels, and like us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And always remember, liberty and freedom are easily taken for granted. Don't take it for granted. Go out there and defend freedom and liberty. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to American Potential. You may listen to more stories from Americans working every day to expand freedom and opportunity in their communities by visiting AmericanPotential.com.